Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If all I get's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out on this jaw cord. But it's no holds barred, middle fingers like I'm Stone Cold.
What is good, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Slapping Me Wrestling podcast. My name is WeTooDeep. And as always, this is our Friday episode where I'm by myself. If you're new to the program, on Tuesdays, comes out, we record on Tuesday nights, comes out, super late Tuesday or early Wednesday, just depending on how long we talk for. Me and co-host DJ Wavy D on Tuesday nights do an episode, and then this is just sort of my the second episode of the week where I sort of just sit here. It gives me an opportunity to sort of talk about other things, maybe things that I feel are something that in the especially like because I talk about NXT here a lot, right? And so I want to make this sort of simple, and so that you guys know what's going to happen, right? If you like Raw, so Raw and more entertainment aspect of the show will be with me and Wavy D on Tuesdays. This is more so me just ranting on different topics, giving opinions of things that I may find interesting, but I don't necessarily think are entertaining to talk about. And then the NXT talk as well. We were doing AEW, but let's just sort of jump into that. I'm off of AEW. I'm confused, right? I was with it for a few weeks, but this show sort of taken me in like 18 different directions. I don't know what's going on. None of the people that I want to be there are on there every single week, and so I'm sort of lost on what's happening at this point. But anytime I ask the question, "What the hell is happening?" I just get yelled at that I don't understand the product, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that to end the show. Just a reminder, QR code right there if you're watching the video, or the link is in the description if you're listening to it on podcast networks like Spotify and Apple. Link in the description takes you to the WWE shop. You got CM Punk's new shirts. Or old shirts, I should say. CM Punk's old shirts from like 2011 are back on the shop. All your merch you want to get, title belts, and you got a birthday coming up or whatever. You want to do your Christmas shopping early. Get that out of the way. Link in that QR code right there will help the show out as well. Don't forget to check out Beyond the Junkyard by James and Cody on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern live on their YouTube page. And all of this could be easily accessible from within the Junkyard Media Group Discord page. That link is also in the description. With that being said, let's do a little bit of housekeeping, and then we'll get into what I want to talk about. And so that's going to be in regards to what we call Thirsty Tuesday. And me and Wavy D do these on Tuesday nights. We just announced the finals of this tournament we were doing for the women's, Thirsty Tuesday women's bracket. And then I announced on Tuesday that we would be doing one for the men as well, so that the women in the audience can get thirsty as well, right? And it's not just super, two guys oogling over all the women, So we got the men's bracket created. That bracket has been posted in the Junkyard Media Group Discord page. With that being said, here's what I want to do. We're not going to start this bracket until the first week of July. I think it would be like July 2nd is the first Tuesday of July. So it gives me about 3 to 4 weeks to sort of prepare for it, get all the graphics made for it that I'll post in the Discord, and then it sets a schedule because I want to make this sort of like standardized. What we'll do is to begin each year in January. From January, it takes about 2 to 3 months to go through a 32-person tournament. So from about January through about March, maybe beginning of April, depends on how long it takes, will be the women's bracket every single year. And then from July through about like September-ish, will be the men's bracket every year. In between the two brackets, we will still be doing Thirsty Tuesday, but it will be women or men. Just depends on, but mostly women. Uh, from all industries, entertainment, sports, wrestling, all that, right? So the tournaments, the brackets will just be women's wrestlers or men's wrestlers. The rest of the time will be from all walks of life, right? All walks of life. Forgoing that they're a celebrity, right? So entertainment, sports, UFC, boxing. I don't know if they do women's boxing. I'm sure they do, but you get the point, right? I'm not just going to pick two random people from off the streets. You got to be a celebrity of some sort. Maybe people Wavy D have never heard of. Maybe people he has heard of, right? Just any celebrity is for the taking. And so with that I think that'll make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more entertaining. I've done basically every women's wrestler that I can think of in this since we've started it this season. So so that's how that Thirsty Tuesday. But now that all that's sort of captivated and done, and you're up to date. But one final thing to say on this: the men's bracket is in the Discord. If you join the Discord, you save that bracket and you fill yours out. What I want to see is you have practically a month before we start the men's bracket. What I want to see is you guys fill it out on your predictions on who you think are going to win, and then share it. There's not gonna be no prize or anything, just a high five, and see who can predict who's gonna win this bracket based on the Discord, right? But with that said, we got about a month until we start that men's bracket. This just also a reminder: you still got a few days to go and vote for the finals of the women's bracket. You have until Tuesday when we start recording this. So go ahead and get that done. But let's dive on in with the first sort of news topic. We'll do this first about MJF. So it's being reported that MJF's contract is like $15 million a year. And I don't care about that. I don't care how much money this dude's making. He scammed the system. I said people were going to start doing this. That as soon as they realized that Tony Khan was just a mark with money, that they were going to scam him, to use him for his money. I believe the Young Bucks are still doing it. I believe Cody Rhodes especially used Tony Khan for his money, for the ability to create a second programming for the purpose of him to go back. I thoroughly believe AEW was Cody Rhodes' idea so that he had a justification to not only go back to WWE, but when he went back, that they would have to put him at the top of the card. They would have to pay him what he wanted. He would have to be treated, because I can just go and stay with this company that I created, but if you want to pull me away from that, this is what I need from you, right? I thoroughly believe this was the plan of Cody Rhodes. I said that 5 years ago. I also pretty certain I said 5 years ago that once people started recognizing that Tony Khan was just a guy who had a lot of money and would be willing to overpay for certain wrestlers, that people would start going over there and basically using him for his money. Like I said, I believe the Young Bucks are still doing it. Kenny Omega, I believe, thoroughly just understands his place in wrestling, and it may be a money thing, but I think WWE would be willing to pay money for Omega. Not so certain about the Young Bucks, to be honest with you. I definitely think MJF is just using Tony Khan for the money. If it's $15 million, that's insane. But let's look at the recent signings. Mercedes Moné is rumored somewhere between 6 to 10 million. You got 15 million for MJF. I think if when converted properly, Okada's at like 4 million. He's being paid in Japanese yen, I believe, and so when converted, it's like $4 million per year. You have to assume Osprey's in that range. You have to like you're paying like within 4 or 5 guys and girls on the roster. You're paying like if we just use MJF, Mercedes Moné, Okada, that's like $30 million. Now you add in Osprey and the Young Bucks and Omega and Copeland and Christian and Swerve and Samoa Joe and this has to be I don't know what everyone's making, but this has to be an insane payroll. There's no way you're making money with it. There's no way they're profiting at the end of the year when Tony Khan tells his accountant to balance the books. This is why they're still in the red 5 years in, right? But this is why I've always told people AEW is the example of what privilege can buy you. What do I mean by that? Right? Because everyone wants to talk about, WCW this, WCW that. Name a company that is doing what AEW is doing, competing with WWE. AEW, this early on, doing better than any other company that's tried to challenge them. Well, yeah, because you have the privilege to go out and sign the big names, right? And everyone wants to talk about how like Ted Turner had money. Okay, but Ted Turner wasn't allowing every single dollar that he had open for Eric Bischoff to go and sign talent. Did Eric Bischoff sign talent? Absolutely. But he wasn't going to overpay for talent, right? I mean, you overpay for Hulk. Absolutely overpay for Hulk Hogan because at that time he was the biggest or one of the biggest stars in the industry, right? And that name power alone and we stole him away from WWF at the time, right? That yes, you overpay for that, but you're not doing that for every single person that comes through the door, right? But Tony Khan has the privilege of his father, who's one of the top 100 richest people in the world, not just in America, in the world. Shad Khan, like 68th, I think, richest person in the world or something like that. I'd have to recheck that list. That changes all the time, especially once you get into like the range that Shad Khan is in, where net worth is, changing all the time. And so, but when you have that ability, that privilege to sit here and not have to worry about making a profit, Tony Khan does not have to run a profit in AEW for probably a decade before it becomes a problem, because he just has money to finance this, that he can sort of just write this off and it not really matter, because his dad and his other companies are making money, right? The Jaguars are making money. The Fulham, I'm certain, is making money. You would assume that they're making money, right? And so AEW could sort of just play the back burner and they don't really have to worry about the finances of it. And so Tony Khan has the privilege to go out and take risk and to rent out Wembley and not really have to worry about it and not make a profit, right? ECW didn't have that. Original TNA didn't have that. Hell, I would even say that WCW didn't allow Bischoff at the beginning to even do that, right? Like no one really had a complete open checkbook where you could spend every single dollar that I have to try to make this thing work, right? And so AEW, yeah, are they number 2? Sure, but they it's sort of like manufactured number 2. Like if you take away Tony Khan out of it, and this is why I say that people use him for his money, right? The Young Bucks, Omega, Cody, when they all got together, when the Elite got together and said, we want to start a wrestling company, All Elite Wrestling, but we don't have the financing to immediately go and compete. And we don't want this necessarily to be another indie promotion. We want this to be something that's on TV that can compete against WWE or be the alternative or whatever lie they want to feed you. I don't believe they want it to be an alternative. You don't get into business if you don't want to compete and be the best. Like if your goal was to just sit there and be an alternative, to me that's the wrong goal. That's just not how I think. You get into business to be number one, right? And maybe and obviously it's not going to come right away. So sure, you can sit there and say, yeah, we want to be the alternative for a year or two while we're growing an audience. But if eventually you would have to assume that your goal is to be number one, right? And so I thoroughly believe when they got together and said, how are we going to do this? Well, we need someone with money. Oh, well, what about this guy, Tony Khan? He's a big wrestling fan. Let's use him for his money, right? And I thoroughly believe that's what happened. I thoroughly believe that in the back of the Elite's mind when they were setting this whole thing up, and I think Chris Jericho got a word of it that, hey, we're just gonna let this dude, we're gonna kiss ass just enough so that he can fund it, and we can go have our little playground, and he's gonna have his little playground, and we're gonna change the game, and we're gonna get rich doing it because this dude's got money. I thoroughly believe that's what this is. But let's get into the main portion of the show, which is reviewing NXT, and then doing our predictions. Doing our predictions for NXT Battleground this Sunday, live from Las Vegas at the UFC Apex. So let's talk about this NXT episode from Tuesday. Was a really, really, really good show. Really good show, right? You have everything you need to do, right? So Jordynne Grace starts the show, first match, fighting Stevie Turner. So I'm just happy Stevie Turner's back on TV. I'm gonna be honest with you. They sort of introduced her last year, and I sort of was like, oh, I like this sort of gamer streamer type gimmick. And then she just sort of disappeared, and now she's back, so I'm happy with that. She got a little bit of offense in, but you definitely want to make Jordynne Grace seem important. And for her first match on NXT was really, really, really good. She looked dominant, and she feels like a legitimate threat, coming right into it. So then, some other segments, you have the 6 women in the ladder match. They have like a little summit with Booker T, and that breaks down, and then it turns into a tag match, which would end up being later on the show. Thea Hale faced Jasmine Nix, and Jasmine Nix actually pulled off the win here with the little inner turmoil going on in Chase U. Jasmine Nix looks good. Jasmine Nix is going to solely be known for her kicks, which is kind of where I figured they would go because she is a soccer player, or was a college soccer player at West Virginia, I believe. And so her kicks are going to be what they sort of focus on, because what it looks like is like, the gymnast that when they sign, like in the NIL, they sign a gymnast, they sort of make them do all the flips and stuff, right? They become more of the flippy, right? Like Saul Ruca was a gymnast at Oregon, I believe, and so she does a little bit more of the handsprings and the some of the flippy stuff, right? I think Kelani Jordynne was a gymnast as well, and she does a little bit more of the athletic, like acrobatic stuff. Your soccer players, like Jasmine Nix, she utilizes the kicks a lot, right? I like her finisher. The Pele kick type thing is a nice finisher. I'd like if she add, like, I know the move I think is still banned, but like a punt kick, because she is a heel, so like a punt kick would be pretty freaking crazy. That match was pretty. You have Natalia replacing Carmen Petrovic because she got hurt at a live show, it looks like, and she fought Izzy Dame, and she actually got the win, which is quite surprising to me. We see a backstage segment or something that happened previous before the show went on air at the merch trailer where Gallows and Anderson attack Axiom and Frazer. We get a little special look, inside look. Shayna Baszler and Lola Vice, and which was a really, really, really good segment. Overall, just a very, very good show. Ethan Page and Trick at the very end. We announced that match. And so overall, said about NXT was that it's your traditional episode of NXT. This is a go home show with the PLE on Sunday. And so nothing felt out of place. Everyone that stepped on, we didn't even really talk about, Briggs got attacked by Sean Spears, and then so Javon Evans came and beat up Sean Spears, which was really good. That they're making Javon Evans feel very, very important. Early on backstage segment with Jordynne Grace as she's leaving the arena, and all the girls come up to her, and Tatum's probably going to be one of the ones that may end up on TNA in this sort of talent swap type stuff, right? We know Brooks Jensen's probably going to because of his back his X videos he's been posting about how NXT's silencing him and this, that, and the third, and he's going to go somewhere where he can make an impact. And then he did another one, and Joe Hendry's theme was playing, or video was playing in the background. Like, he's probably going to be one that ends up in the impact zone on a random Thursday night. I did my best before coming live to see if anyone came on last night, and I don't think they did. I'm not to the point right now where I'm going to weekly watch TNA. I like this idea until these NXT stars just start showing up. Like, but here's the thing: I don't want this to be like a weekly thing where like there's a talent swap. Like, I feel like for special spots, it would be okay. So, but yeah, this was just a really, really good show. Ava had a lot on her hands. It seemed like every time they showed her on camera, she was dealing with Ethan Page or some other matter. I like that they sort of gave her Robert Stone as like an assistant. I feel like he'd fit very well in that role. He can be like the talent scout for Ava. I think especially since NXT is being sort of portrayed as sort of the place where the main roster gets their future stars. For Robert Stone to be seen as like a talent scout on screen, I think that would be an interesting place to use him at. Just overall, just a really, really good episode to lead you into Battleground. And so that's where I want to spend a little bit more time, is on my predictions for Battleground. So we got 2, 3, 4, looks like 6 matches. Yeah. So again, a continuation of the WWE PLE sort of theme of 5-6 match cards. I don't think any of these are going to be on a pre-show, which I'm glad about, because all of these are very important. Every single thing here is important. We'll start. It's hard to really rank the importance of the matches, but we'll start with the NXT Underground match. Probably if we're, I'm not going to say this is the match I least care about, because there is one more that I don't really necessarily care about, but it's still really good. And we'll get to that match next, actually. But the NXT Underground match, Shayna Baszler versus Lola Vice. You knew when this was announced that it was going to the UFC Apex, which is essentially the training performance center for UFC type thing. You knew that there would be some sort of UFC crossover. There's rumors that that UFC is going to be featured very heavily. There may be superstars in the Apex arena, that they'll feature. When Endeavor bought the thing and like TKO was created and UFC and WWE basically merged, you knew that they were eventually going to start cross promoting the shows. And I think as we head into the summer, as we head into the fall, and really as we head into 2025, I really believe that you have your calendar basically already set, but as we head into 2025 and they're announcing these events, I believe it was Dana White that stated that basically we're running the whole weekend. We're going to run the whole weekend, right? In the same city, possibly the same arenas, right? We're going to run, UFC probably will take the Saturday slot, and then Sunday night would be the WWE space, right? Now, I would do it the opposite way, just personally. I would prefer for them to do WWE on Saturday and then UFC on Sunday, just personally. But right, and I think that's what they're going to do. And why would you not cross promote, right? We're letting you use our arena. This is really smart. This is one of those things where like WWE, they're not really paying anything. This is because UFC owns this arena. You're merged with them. It's not like you have to rent out the arena space, right? You're paying like the employees, and that's about it, right? You're paying the people to run the cameras. You're paying the wrestlers, and there's really no production cost. This type of thing, like guys, and this goes back like Tony Khan. Why don't you do this? Why don't you build an arena where you could film Collision and Rampage live? You do them, I would do, a 3-hour show like you've been doing with Collision and Rampage live from build you a performance center. You don't have to rent out an arena. You can put 3,000 seats in it, fill that crowd up, give the illusion that you're filling up an arena. It could be free tickets for all I care, and because there's no production cost if you own the arena, right? Outside of just the typical like property tax and stuff, but even still, like that's just part of doing. You get the point. You don't have to rent out these arenas to put 2,000. Right? Tony Khan's paying money to rent out a 6,000 to 10,000 seat arena that he's only putting 2,000 seats in, or 2,000 butts in seats, and he's losing money on that deal. Like, do something like what they're doing here, right? But I digress. In terms of this match, like I said, I don't necessarily care, but you knew something would happen with some sort of UFC style match. I guess the rumor, or the sort of what Fightful's now reporting, and again, Fightful's been wrong a lot here recently, so I take it with like a grain of salt, but it's been reported that there were discussions about using an octagon at some point in this, but there was like a logistical, and I kind of brought this up with Wavy D a couple weeks ago of how I wish that they would use the octagon, but I'm sure that it would be difficult to do in the wrestling sense, right? So this being the underground match, two former UFC fighters, both done MMA. This inside look little segment that they put this week really got me into the feud a little bit more about, and ultimately I believe this is a 50-50 for me. I don't really know who is going to win this match. Like, I see an argument for both. I see an argument for Shayna, as this could build her sort of momentum, but I also see more than likely. So my official pick is Lola Vice, because you don't want to sort of stifle her momentum. Plus, Shayna Baszler is on Raw. She's with Zoe Stark. She's fighting for the women's tag team championship. So you really don't necessarily need her to win this match. Would be interesting if Zoe Stark is a participant of this in some way, shape, or form. With there being no DQ, Zoe Stark can definitely show up here and get involved in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, so my official pick though is Lola Vice will win the NXT Underground match. We'll move on to the match that I care the least about, and that is the NXT Tag Team Championship match between Axiom and Nathan Frazer versus the OC. Now, I'll tell you something. Axiom and Frazer are going to put on a show. They're going to come out there and try to blow the roof off the place, and they probably will. Just don't care about Gallows and Anderson being here on the card. I just don't care about it. I don't think they win. I'm picking Axiom and Frazer. It would be pretty cool if the OC won and we could start some sort of, Bullet Club type thing on NXT. But yeah, I definitely see the OC losing this match. And Axiom and Frazer retaining. We'll move on to the NXT North American Championship match between Oba Femi, Wesley, and Joe Coffey. This is probably going to be my favorite match. Like just looking at the card, this may not be match of the night, but it's probably going to be my favorite match of the night. And it has a very high potential of being added to my match of the year list, which is looking pretty empty so far for the year, because I haven't found a lot of matches that really matched my standard for like the best match of the year, right? This may be one that's added to that list, though, if it has the potential to be. I still think Oba Femi walks out as champion. I do. I think Joe Coffey's here to take the pin, unfortunately. I don't think they want Wesley to take the pin. I think this leads into either Wes and Joe get into a feud, or eventually, I think that's ultimately what will happen, and Oba will just continue with the belt for the next challenger. But I do think Oba Femi walks out of here with the championship. However, if he does lose, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that just means you're going to push him against Trick at some point. But I do think Oba Femi retains. We'll talk about now the women's North American ladder match. You got Sol Ruca, Lash Legend, Jaida Parker, Fallon Henley, Kelani Jordynne, and Michin. Michin always felt weird to me, but this little summit, like, Michin sort of won me over. It may have been that she was wearing a Joyner Lucas shirt on Tuesday. The Not Now I'm Busy tour, an album shirt. That may be part of the reason why she won me over, because I love me some Joyner Lucas. But I don't know. So coming into, like, before I watched NXT, Sol Ruca was my winner. Like, when they announced it, I was like, this is Sol Ruca's title. I'm not quite certain about that anymore. I really don't know. Because she was the one that won the tag team match, the 6-woman tag match. So she was the one whose music was playing as that segment went off the air, and just traditionally the way wrestling has been booked is on the go home show, whoever looks strong doesn't typically end up winning. I think there's a case for each one of them outside of Michin. I think Michin's just there to fill a spot. I would be happy with anyone winning the, like, as long as Michin, honestly, and it's not a diss to Michin, I just don't think that she needs this title because she is a main roster star already. But any of the other 5, I would be happy with. They did a very, very good job of. Now, I've said this before, the only way you get this better is if you put Tatum Paxley in there instead of Michin. But I understand why Michin's in the match, right? But any of the other 5 outside of Michin to win this match, I would be happy for them. I would be happy with any of this result. I'm just happy we have a women's mid-card title on some type of brand. It gives these women something to fight for. Now that Roxanne sort of, Roxanne's probably going to run this for a little bit. You get what I'm saying? Until Julia shows up, because Roxanne's going to be the one that loses the title to Julia. And so and that gets to my prediction of the next match in a minute. But ultimately, my official prediction that's going to go on paper, if I had to put money on it, I don't know, man. This is so hard because I literally have a legitimate case for any one of them. I'm still going to put my money on Sol Ruca. My official prediction is Sol Ruca. But I'll be happy as a fan. I'll be 100% happy with any of them winning, especially if it's not Sol, if it's Fallon Henley, because heel Fallon Henley is like the best Fallon Henley right now. Like, I thought I liked Fallon Henley when she was running with Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs, and then she left that, and now she turned heel, and now like she's got an attitude to her that I enjoy. Yeah, so it may be Fallon that wins this match, and I'll be I'd be really ecstatic for that. But I do think it's going to be Sol Ruca, and I do think we're getting a Soul Snatcher off the ladder at some point in this match. So now let's talk about the NXT Women's Championship. Roxanne Perez versus Jordynne Grace, which is just absolutely mind-blowing to me because just 2 years ago, you would have never even imagined WWE working with anybody. Shit, this time last year, you couldn't imagine WWE working with anyone. And then Jordynne Grace came for the Rumble, and then now she's back for NXT, and it appears some sort of door is open to a partnership with TNA. And just a year ago, you couldn't even imagine this happening. And so it's just sort of amazing to me that Jordynne Grace gets to fight for the NXT Women's Championship. And as much as I really, really, really want to pick her to win this match, because of how much chaos it would be in the wrestling universe for TNA to show up next Thursday and have Jordynne Grace show up as a double champion, that would be fucking insane, and it would be a ratings increase like no fucking other. But I don't think it happens. I think Roxanne's going to retain. And I think if they do this right, TNA's building towards, I forgot the name of the pay-per-view. But there may be a potential opportunity to build for maybe Roxanne to come and fight Jordynne for her title or something like that. At that, I don't know what their plan is with that, but yeah, my official prediction is Roxanne's going to retain. I just can't see a world where Triple H, he'll play around with, having another company take his title, but I just don't see them actually doing it. I just don't see them actually allowing that to happen. And so I am picking Roxanne Perez. So now we get to what I'm assuming will be the main event of the match. Ethan Page in his first match ever on NXT, 3 weeks, or really 2 weeks into him being here. And he's fighting for the title against Trick Williams. And I know people are going to complain. What did Ethan Page do? Why is he getting this title match? The story is set in place for why this happened. He attacked the champion. The champion's upset. The champion told the GM, do whatever it takes to get him signed here. Sign whatever he wants. Sign the contract. I want him as an official thing here. The contract states that if Ava signed it, that his first match would be at Battleground for the title. And that's the story being built here. That Ethan Page comes in, he's a heel. He thinks he's the greatest thing since the invention of wrestling. He thinks he's the best wrestler ever. He's all ego. He comes in, he thinks he's hot shit, and so he skips the line and attacks Trick Williams, which allows, because Trick is a fighting face champion, right? He's someone that, he gets attacked, and now he wants to right the wrong of him being attacked, right? and that's what this is here. Trick Williams is winning, but the fact that Ethan Page is in NXT is just freaking awesome. Because we're getting the Ethan Page from TNA. We're not getting that AEW version where they sort of watered him down and blah blah blah. Right? Nobody cared about that Ethan Page. This Ethan Page deserves and demands respect, and is someone that I can immediately, just 2 weeks onto the show, I could sort of already sort of be like, yeah, there's something there that I can sort of grab onto and follow the storyline. Right now, Trick Williams is winning. There's no way, but I'm saying this: we're getting some sort of interference from whether it's TNA. Like, I would love to see Josh Alexander show up at some point during this show. I would love to see, the potentiality of like a Joe Hendry showing up would be fucking insane. Moose, if Moose showed up at the like imagine at the end of this match, Trick Williams retains and fucking Moose comes out face to face with Trick Williams. That would be insane, dude. That would be insane. And then like just have them stare down to end the show. That would be insane. I'm not going to make official predictions because I don't know if that's going to happen, but I would be intrigued if it did happen. So those are my predictions. So again, it's Trick Williams, Roxanne Perez, Axiom and Frazer, Soul Ruca, Oba Femi, and Lola Vice are going to be my winners. We'll see how correct I am. So we're going to move on to react to that, which I'm actually going to have a 2-part. So the first part that I planned to originally do was reacting to Tony Khan. He was on some sort of podcast where he stated that he can't wait to get Ricky Starks back on TV. That Ricky Starks is an important part of the company, blah, 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 a whole bunch of hoopla. Tony Khan, aren't you the booker? Like, what are you wait? Like you're not waiting to do anything, are you? Like you're literally the booker. You don't have to get permission because you write the show. Like, unless Ricky Starks is hurt, then you're not waiting to put him on TV. Just put him on TV. My initial reaction to this is like, you write the show. If you really want Ricky Starks on TV so bad, you would have him on TV. So that's my initial reaction. Like what is going on here, Tony Khan? You write the show, dude. You write the show. So that's simply my reaction. Like, if you want him on TV, put him on TV. All right, but now the second part is something that I didn't necessarily want to or plan on talking about until this happened. So we're not affiliated or anything, but there's another show, the Casual Wrestling show that Notorious Nerdy D does, and fantastic product. Go check it out. A lot of the audience here already does. Technically it's on Tuesday nights, but it comes out, I think it's Wednesday's episode. Him and Milwaukee Mike do a podcast together, an episode together, and Mike helping to promote the show like I should be doing. He posts some clips, some hot takes that he puts on there, and the best way to do this is to put the hottest takes, zero context, the most controversial things, put them on, and that draws them hopefully to watching the show, or at least giving you some level of engagement where you explode, and then people who actually want to watch the product are drawn to that product, right? So he does this. He puts one of his hot takes on here, and he gets completely just destroyed by the IWC. Now, I'm going to play the TikTok of one of the responses. So you'll see, because what happens when you I don't even know what they call it on TikTok anymore. It's a stitch. I guess it's called a stitch. Where you stitch someone, you play like a certain beginning of someone's video, and then it cuts over to you, and then you say your point, right? And so you're going to see Mike's point for about 2 seconds. That's not the important part of the video. The important part is the reaction from this other guy. I believe his channel is Suplex Media, SUPLEX Media. I want to sort of preface this by this is in no way to like demean this guy. Don't send him any mean responses. It's to establish a conversation. It's me reacting to this guy and what he said, and I do that through. I'm going to do that through a little bit of like sarcasm, but really with just a rant to end the show. So without further ado, I'm going to play this video and then I'll respond to it. So here we go.
Roderick Strong, or whatever the hell his name is, challenging Swerve Strickland.
Folks, can we normalize not talking about things that we don't watch? This creator states that, hey, I don't watch AEW weekly and I think it's a jumbled mess. Well, yeah, man, if you don't watch the television show, that's a weekly episodic television show where the episodes build upon themselves, i.e. Game of Thrones, or let's be honest, most media nowadays, you're gonna be lost. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It seems weird, right? I would be in the wrong if I didn't watch, what's the new Game of Thrones show? House of the Dragon? Dragon House? Something like that. I think it's House of the Dragon. If I didn't watch the first season or missed 3 weeks of shows and flipped on the TV and something was going on that show and I didn't understand it, that's not on the show. That's on me as a viewer. We have such a bad habit in the pro wrestling space of talking about things that we don't know about or we don't watch. You don't have to have an opinion on everything. Seems pretty simple. But to go on and say like, oh, Roddy Strong or whatever his name is, and Will Ospreay won some kind of battle royal match, and then now he's facing this and doing this. Yeah, man, it does seem like a jumbled mess when you don't watch it. That's kind of everything in life. You know what seems like a jumbled mess to me? Cantonese. Never opened a book. Never looked at it. If I opened a book and started looking at Cantonese, how to speak or write it, is it a written or spoken language? Either way, doesn't matter for this point. That's not on them. That's on me. It's the same thing. The fact that we don't apply the same rules we apply to literally every other piece of media or anything else in our life to pro wrestling is insane to me. I just don't understand why we continue to do it. If you don't watch a product, don't talk about a product. I didn't watch Raw. I'm not talking about Raw this week. That's fine. Didn't watch NXT. I watched a little bit. I watched the Ethan Page bit. But I'm not going to talk about it because I didn't watch it in entirety. I think it's pretty simple. No one's expecting you to watch everything in pro wrestling. That would be insane. But I think what is a sane thing to do is expect people not to talk about things they're not watching.
Well, now that we have that insightful, so let's actually talk about this for a minute. So, I joke around a little bit. All right, am I joking? I'm gonna give my official response. Let me set this. But let me stop joking. I'm gonna give this official response. But before I do that, just want to remind you guys again about the QR code. And I hope y'all enjoy this. Junkyard. As we head to WrestleMania season, that's a reason to fill your shopping carts with all the merch you be needing. Maybe you screaming, yeah, for the man LA Knight. Or maybe your fingers up repping Tribal Chief all night. Or maybe you finished the story, maybe gory, rocking Cody Rhodes t-shirts in your Snapchat story. Get your favorite wrestlers merch all up on the internet. All the t-shirts, championship titles at your fingertips. All you have to do is hit the link in the description. I can't forget to mention CM Punk can't be missing. Or else he may throw hands and make me feel for my life. Buy your shirt up in the shop and wear it proudly all the time. Thanks to WWE Shop for partnering with your boys. Click the link right now and fill your carts with even more. Yeah. All right, now that I got everything's back set up normal here, yeah, let's actually react to that video. Like seriously. So he says, can we what's that word he used? Can we normalize not reacting to things that we don't know about? So let's pause there. Let's not take anything else he says in the rest of that video. And let's pause right there. Why are you reacting to the Casual Wrestling Podcast? Let's ask a legitimate question. Do you watch their product on a week-to-week basis? No, you don't. You've admitted you haven't. So why are you reacting to it? See, this is the double standard of the IWC. Well, you can't react to AEW because you don't watch it, but we're going to react to everything we don't watch. Your logic is flawed there, and there's no nuance. There's really no nuance to the comparison there, right? You go against yourself and your logic by doing exactly what you're telling me not to do. But let's give some facts here. You know, I'm 100% trying to support Mike here for the Casual Wrestling Show. I want y'all to go and watch the hell out of that show. Watch it. Check it out. It's wonderful. Really good work. Consistently, like as someone who's watched that podcast now for, 2 to it's been about a year and a half, 2 years now. Consistently, like, and Mike's been a part of it now for about 6 months. Consistently, he's been very consistent in his opinions, and he's watched AEW because we've talked about it live in the CWC. Like I actually talk to these people, right? I know that they consistently watch or try to consistently watch. So, but the question, the problem is no one ever actually answers the question that Mike asked. No one answers the question to the point where even last night, where James and Cody did their episode, and they take questions like we do, right at the end of the show. And he asked for questions, and I asked one. I said, explain to me what the hell is going on in your main title picture. Like, because it's literally a jumbled mess. It's like a cat got a hold of like 8 different strands of yarn, and by the time you've ever like picked up yarn that gets all messed up, and it's all or you've ever found like all of the old cables that you just threw into a drawer and you try to pull them out and it's all a jumbled mess. This is what the AEW World Title picture is like. So let me set the scene for those who don't watch AEW. Let me set the scene because y'all can't do this to me that, oh, you don't watch it. No, because I've watched it consistently for the last month, maybe more. So as someone who has watched the product, you can't use this whole it's like Cantonese. No, but first off, really bad argument, right? As soon as you try to bring the language into it, like, that's a completely different. That's like comparing apples to oranges here, right? And here's the thing with it, right? I don't have to watch AEW to critique it. Here's why. Because he wasn't critiquing it. Again, and if you watch the full episode, you would understand this. He wasn't necessarily critiquing it from a standpoint of that he didn't enjoy the match. He's critiquing it from the standpoint of it's really bad booking. And I don't have to watch the show right to hear that, right? If you were to tell me a story, right? If you were to say, "Hey man, did you watch the show?" No. Okay, tell me what happened, right? I do that all the time with people where they get excited about a show that I don't watch it. Okay, well, tell me what happens. Either A, I don't plan on watching it, so you can spoil whatever you want, or B, you really can't spoil shows for me because either if you tell me something, I'm either going to forget it, or I just don't necessarily care about you spoil whatever you want to me, right? I don't care, right? And so, if you were to tell me a story review to say, man, this episode was great. You got to watch this show. A good show, a good producer would make sure that everyone is able. So let me give an example before I explain what Mike was trying to say here from the booking perspective, right? Or at least what my argument is, because I have the same question that Mike has. Explain to me the world title picture, and then I'm going to give my point. I don't want to speak for Mike. I'm going to speak for myself, right? Because I'm just as confused as he is, and I thought 3 weeks ago that I understood AEW's booking. But I am completely lost now on what's happening with this world title picture. If not the whole show. The whole show is just a big jumbled mess at this point now. I mean, shit. You got Statlander turning on literally anyone she walks into the room, into the ring with now. She's turned on Willow. She's now turned on Orange. So you know, if you're ever in the ring with Chris Statlander, just understand she's going to turn on you. Because none of that made any sense this past week. But let me give this example, right? So up till the movie Avengers Endgame, right? I went to Endgame. I saw it in theaters with my little brother. Going into that movie, I had to watch, hear me out here, 0% of the MC universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I had watched 0 of the movies that led up to Avengers Endgame. I was asked if I wanted to go see Endgame. I heard it was a good film, good, right? Just from a filmography aspect of it, that it was really good, and from that aspect, without knowing anything about the story, it was a very good movie, guys. You know what made it even more enjoyable? That about halfway through the movie, I understood what the fuck was happening. I didn't need to go back and watch every single. Now, if I go back and watch everything, maybe I'll catch some of the Easter eggs that are in there for the people who are part of and have watched everything. But from a casual viewer of the MCU, right, who was watching it for the first time ever, watching Endgame, I knew exactly what was happening. They did enough to help me understand what was going on in the movie. That way, by the time he got to the big climax, the big point in the movie, right, I understood what was going on. And so I didn't need, right, a good producer does that, where you don't have to understand the ins and outs of everything that goes on episode to episode, but you can still enjoy the product, right? So, and I hate this argument that you can't critique it if you've never watched it, because it sort of gatekeeps the product, right? If the guy mentioned he didn't watch Raw and he didn't watch NXT, right? Or did I? No, wait, I think I watched that. Ethan, I'm sorry. But I don't think that he shouldn't be, because guess what? If I were to tell you what happened on NXT, I expect you to react in some way to it. You can't be like, oh, I didn't watch it, so I have zero reaction to it. Your reaction's either going to be, oh, well, that's stupid, or, oh, that must have been a really good show, right? And so I don't like this mindset that you can't react to something because you didn't watch it. If you tell me what happens on AEW, or I go out and I watch on TikTok or Twitter X some of the highlights, or on YouTube and watch some of the highlights, I have the ability to react to what I see. I don't have to watch the whole show to right. And this whole idea of like, well, yeah, if you miss any show that is episodic and builds up, here's the problem: AEW doesn't build upon each other, because there's really nothing from a week to week standpoint in this title picture that is building off of each other, right? So let me sort of give my critique to it. I don't necessarily know if this is Mike's critique, but this is my critique. You have this battle royal, right? Now the battle royal happens the week after, 3 nights after Will Ospreay wins the Continental or Intercontinental or International or whatever the fucking name of that title is. And I'm not saying he shouldn't have won that title. Hear me out. I actually think he should have won the title, and he should have been the champion. And he gives this promo about how he's going to put this title on the map. Exactly what he needs to do. Why is it important that Will Ospreay wins that title? Because no one gives a fuck about Roddy Strong and his title run, right? No one cared. No viewership wasn't increased because Roddy Strong was the champion. Right, so Will Ospreay comes in. Now, technically, viewership hasn't gone anywhere with Will Ospreay as champion, but that's besides the point. Will Ospreay is going to put on match after match after match, banger after banger after banger with that title. He should be out there every week doing what Adam Copeland did. Every single Wednesday with an open challenge where he defeats guys on the roster, right? And he puts the title on the map, similar to what Gunther did with the IC title. Brings prestige to it. This is the working man's title. This is the wrestler's title. You're right. If your whole thing is this is where the best wrestle, well, why is Will Ospreay not wrestling and defending his title? Instead, he's going to run off and take a sabbatical. And his defense is, it's only going to be 1 week. Here's my problem, man. You've wrestled on and off. You haven't been on every single episode that I can remember. I don't think you've been on every single episode, but even if you had because his thing is it's a hectic travel schedule, bro. No one asked you to live in the UK, right? This is what Triple H was talking about when it comes to the grind. And even it's a week off, and people take weeks off all the time. That's fine, but you're an essential point to the story. You can't just take a week off because the travel's too hectic for you. You just can't do that, dude. You're an essential part to this show. You're someone that is a centerpiece to the show. You're a champion now. You can't just be like, Tony, it's too hard, man, traveling from the UK to America, 3-4 times a week. It's just too hard for me to do it this week. I just need to. No, you can't do that anymore, dude. You just can't do. That's just my opinion. But Ospreay wins, and he should have put this title on the map and have a really good dominant run. And you could put him in the world title picture 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months from now. But instead, 3 nights after he wins the title, he wins a battle royal to be the number 1 contender against the world champion Swerve Strickland, which makes 0 sense whatsoever from a booking standpoint. Makes 0 sense whatsoever. So there's problem number 1. So then problem number 2 comes in. Well, Roddy Strong runs to Tony Khan and cries because he wasn't able to enter the battle royal because of the rules of the match. And so he demands a title match. Roddy, the last time we saw you, you lost your title. You took an L. How do you take an L in your last match and then automatically get a better title opportunity? None of it makes sense. This is the problem. And when I or Mike or whoever asks for explanation, we just get told, well, you can't critique things you don't watch. Well, obviously I watched it because I know the ins and outs of the booking, and it's bad. Critiquing doesn't mean that I want the show to fail. Critiquing just means the show fucking sucks, dude. So someone answer me the question, right? Because every time I ask, well, how does Ethan Page get a title opportunity? His first, I just broke it down. The story's actually really, really simple because there's actually a story here, right? Ethan Page attacked Trick. Trick was pissed off. He told Ava he wants to fight him for the title. There's the story. It's real simple. It's not a jumbled mess where Ethan Page attacks him and then someone else comes out and attacks, then there's a battle royal, blah, 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 this, that. No, none of that, right? And then the favorite one is, well, how do you guys explain Logan Paul, blah, blah, blah? Yeah, guess what? I've sat here and critiqued Logan Paul getting that title opportunity. I think they should have just continued the AJ Styles story. But there's other factors at play here behind the scenes. It's a Saudi show. Logan had nothing really else to do. Who knows if AJ even wanted to travel to Saudi? And then even still, they did their best to build a story out of this, and it wasn't really all that random or jumbled where there was a single thread that there wasn't a jumbled mess to explain why Logan Paul was in here. Now, I don't necessarily think Logan Paul needed that title, but I also think it's very obvious that Logan Paul, he won the U.S. title, but his goal has always been the world title. That's why he's had 3 world title matches since he's been in the company. He's fought Roman, he's fought Seth, and now he's fought Cody. Right? Logan Paul's aspirations are always to be, and it sort of fits in that character of Logan Paul, to be the world champion. Right? He doesn't aspire to make the U.S. Championship the best title ever. Logan Paul is also a heel, and so if he attacked Cody or whatever, or he sort of cheats his way into this match, that's what the heel is supposed to do. Will Ospreay's a face. Will Ospreay just gave a promo saying that I want to make the international title the greatest title on the brand, and then he immediately just flips his actions don't fit the words, because now he's winning a battle royal. Like, the booking makes no sense, and no one wants to explain it to us casual fans. And this is the problem, because the IWC likes to gatekeep this. Well, I don't watch it, but I kind of want to watch the product. Like, it looks kind of entertaining. It's wrestling. I like it, but the more I get into it, the more questions I have. And every time I have questions or critiques, I get told that, oh, well, you just don't watch the product. You're just not a good enough fan, right? And that's the problem with the IWC. That's the problem with the IWC. They want to gatekeep it. This is something special to them. And because I'm going to critique it, or because I want to say, well, guys, you're not as good as you think you are. And hey, there's a really big problem with Tony Khan, negotiating a TV rights deal, and the ratings continue to drop, except for Dynamite this week. You went up 3,000 fans. Not really all that spectacular, considering you didn't have hockey or the NBA on Wednesday. But besides the point, and you never have competition. Like, on a normal Wednesday without the NBA or hockey, like, there's zero competition. Like, you guys should be getting at least 900,000, but you can't even hit 800,000 anymore. That's besides the point. But you're in these TV negotiations, and you're upset because Warner doesn't want to pay you what you want to get paid, and the negotiations aren't going the way you want. Well, Tony, the product sucks. The booking sucks. You book for marks, because that's what you are, and you've self-admitted it, that you book for the marks because you are a mark. Well, guess what, Tony? That's not how you have long-term success in the business. Guys, when I sit here and say, like, I don't want it to go out of business, but my fear is within the next decade it will be. And I'm going to give it a decade because Tony Khan has the money to keep this thing going. But I also think with that money, I'm going to copy what Nerdy D from the Casual Wrestling Show has said, is he believes that Tony Khan has such an ego problem that to get AEW to seem like it's worked, he's going to start spending money to buy out places like New Japan, where he's going to buy New Japan, and he's going to create a black hole in wrestling where he's just going to spend money and suck all of these indie promotions and lower tier promotions into this black hole that he's going to buy out. And he's going to kill the business. I thoroughly believe Tony Khan could kill the business. I thoroughly believe that. Luckily, we have this force, and y'all are going to say this is biased, but luckily we have Triple H, Paul Levesque, the GOAT of booking, and Shawn Michaels, the GOAT of booking over in WWE, who's sort of doing things properly and trying to save and create it really back the heyday of wrestling. Like we're at a peak here. We haven't been at this level of excitement for wrestling in like 20 years. And they're doing everything they can to make wrestling better. And then we have Tony Khan, he's booking for the marks. He's not booking for the fans that actually matter. Not saying the marks don't matter, but the marks are going to show up whether there's one person in the stands or not, whether wrestling is cool or not. There's a new fan base here that wants to get into wrestling, and they get attacked by this IWC for not knowing anything about AEW, but they're just trying to learn. Like, we're honestly asking questions, but we get attacked for it. And this whole don't talk about it if you don't watch it. Bro, Mike's watched the show. It's not like he's completely ignorant to what's happening. He literally watches the show, and watching it confuses him, and it confuses me, right? So can someone actually explain what's going on, or is it just going to be, well, you don't watch the show, da 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 da, right? That's stupid. And then why are we, literally not obeying by the same logical rules? You're literally being hypocritical by not watching the podcast and reacting to it, right? But I actually believe you have the right to react to Mike. But I'm using your logic against you. My logic states, well, you can listen to whatever you want, you can react to whatever you want, you can watch whatever you want, and still have an opinion about it. I've never watched Lord of the Rings. I think it's pretty dorky, though. I think it's pretty dorky. And I think any movie that requires you to spend like half a day to watch it, I just don't want to watch it, right? I think people take this too serious. It's just wrestling, dude. It's just wrestling. Mike has an opinion. He had a question. He really wanted someone to answer, and he gets met with, well, you just don't watch the show, so of course you're not going to get it. No, explain it to me, because I do watch it and I don't understand it. Explain to me the product. That's all we're asking for. But with that, thank you for watching another episode of the Slap and Meat Wrestling Podcast. My name is WeTooDeep. As always, I do appreciate you. All the links in the bottom description, or that QR code to take you to the WWE shop through our link. Also, don't forget, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, hit follow or subscribe, and turn on the notifications, and leave us a 5-star review if you like the product. We do appreciate them. The more reviews we get, the higher in the algorithms we get. If you're watching on YouTube, same thing. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Just say hello, right? Because the more comments, the more interactions with the video, the higher in the algorithm it gets taken, and the bigger this can get. Ultimately, the goal is to make this thing a bigger podcast that a lot of people listen to, and to build a wonderful wrestling community out of it. So to join that community, go to the Discord link into the description. Again, I'm WeTooDeep. Thank you for listening and watching. Until next Tuesday, y'all have a great weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday.
Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If I like it's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion.